Society, welcome back to the Antisocial Planet, and today we are checking out episode 239 of Bleach. We ended up on another kind of mysterious note with the last episode, where we had Toshiro meeting up with his Zanpakuto, who doesn't seem to remember much of anything, doesn't know his name, doesn't remember that Toshiro is his Soul Reaper that he was bonded with before, which isn't what we've seen with the other Zanpakuto up to this point. So, curious about why that is. It looks like we might be digging more into that, as well as maybe getting a little bit of a Toshiro backstory, which I love because I feel like he's so closed off and we don't know a whole lot about him and his past because he's not the kind of person to talk about that. It's just what we know with Momo and like what she's shared and like their story together and their backstory. So that's really interesting to me to see how he got his Zanpakuto, or go a little bit into what is like the motivation and purpose behind his Zanpakuto. So I hope that we get a little bit more of that. And of course, we also had some stuff going on with Momo and Matsumoto about their Zanpakuto and how they were interacting with them. We're getting to a point where lots of the matchups are happening with Soul Reapers going up against their Zanpakuto and seeing how they are going to try and get them back, especially now that they know they can because Arenji did it. There's still some mystery around Byakuya and where he is and what he's doing. So lots of little threads that are happening right now. So I think we're going to focus mostly on Toshiro maybe, but we'll see. So let's get into this episode. In 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, but just because we've seen this a few times, a little recap of, what Zanpakuto are. Can we talk about how it's like Zanpakuto take the shape based on their Soul Reaper soul, right? Byakuya's is flowers. Like, they're they're cherry blossoms. It's kind of sweet that like the representation of his soul is like flower petals. It's oddly fitting though for him, given that he's kind of like he's powerful, but he's not like aggressive, right? It's also kind of uh intimidating because they are blades, right? So his soul is also a bunch of tiny blades, but also a bunch of pieces. I feel like I'm thinking too much into it. Just the kind of things that go through my head as I overanalyze things, but like I feel like there's a lot of symbolism to that one that we could dig into a little bit more. Will we in this arc? I don't know. But my brain definitely will ponder this when I like I'm supposed to be like asleep at night or focusing on something important for like work. My brain will just drift off and being like, yeah, but what about Byakuya Zanpakuto? Good little Toshiro. Yes, why are we in the Hollow Forest? Generally. It's a bad idea. On most days. It just seems like we're here voluntarily. Is he going somewhere specific? Or is it like this is where the Zanpakuto are staying? Is he trying to prove his strength? He seems more like okay now. Oh, spoke too soon. That color change though. Hello? Found what? Is it a hollow? We know that the more humanoid a hollow looks, the stronger it is. So, why is this one glowing? And why are we looking for it? I guess I could have also been hurtful from like the Zanpakuto's side too, of like, you had me, and yet you were so hurt that this other person left you. Oof. We've already talked about how you're not allowed to hurt her. She's off limits. It's so interesting to see the contrast between Momo and Matsumoto in this one because, like, you have Momo who's constantly doubting herself, and then you have Matsumoto who's like, nothing you can say can make me doubt me. She's like, I got this. Ooh. Even that is like, ow. Why would you do that? Like, it's not. It's not like she's worried about this fight. Ooh. I was like, she didn't even pick up her sword. She was like, I'm gonna fight you with my bare hands. I knew that she was gonna get upset about that eventually. But she doesn't doubt her power, right? Like, she's annoyed by being teased and that kind of a thing. But it's very different from Momo, who, like, is constantly fighting back that part of herself that's telling her she's not good enough. It's not true. They care about you. But she was. She was paying attention to you when you got hurt. Or she thought you got hurt. She just is right now because you're okay. Well, escalated. Oof. That look, though. I wonder if they're working together because they both used an attack at like the same time. I wonder if they have some kind of. Yeah. I was like, I wonder if they're working together. They're like trade-off. Love it. Especially against like two Zanpakuto who don't get along and don't have any teamwork. And then to have the two Soul Reapers that can work together because they already were like, you guys don't like each other and don't get along. So they're using that to their advantage. Oh, they're cute. See, teamwork. Oh, I kind of love that. I liked that though, of like getting old means that your heart has depth. It's true though. Have a lot of experience the older you get, I say, as someone who's only in their mid-20s and obviously doesn't know what they're talking about. But I feel like they're not gonna have a heart to heart. Neither of them seem like the talking type. Don't call him a child. Unless you have snacks. I wonder why that was. Like, is it because he would be like unwieldy? So like Muramasa took away his memories to be able to control him? Like maybe he had too strong of a sense of like loyalty. For someone who's like, you're just a kid, he's not exactly pulling his punches, is he? Oh, we're controlling the weather. Okay. Cool. That's fine. I was gonna say, did Ichigo just still there or did he run off? Yeah, you said you weren't interested in Ichigo because he's clearly not your master, so. Because I feel like maybe Muramasa made him forget his, like, loosest memories because his whole thing now is he's like, I need to find my master. Like, that is his motivation, is finding that person. So I wonder if he needed to do that, like, Muramasa needed to do that in order to be able to control him, because otherwise he wouldn't have left Toshiro. Because Toshiro himself is very protective of the people that he cares for, right? Like, I believe that he would instill that need to protect the ones he cares about into his Zanpakuto. You were a little bit put offish. You know, if you tried smiling. See, there you go. Oh, are people afraid because of the ice? Like they don't want to touch him because they're afraid of what might happen? I think she's like, I should protect him by causing him injury. Interesting meeting. Heck of a dream. That's not unnerving. Oh, oh no. I didn't expect to get right in my feelings though. Toshiro getting emotional hits differently. Yeah, prove it. Thank goodness that the ice just collapsed in on him. Oh, not to play off the whole ice thing, but that gave me shivers. Ugh. I love that it clears the clouds, but it's still like nighttime, so there's still like the dark blue coloring to it, which is I feel like fits Toshiro more than like a, bright, sunny blue sky. Aw, why did they give me my feelings? I think part of it was like the backstory of Toshiro. I didn't know he had like family and stuff. Besides, like, because we've only seen like a little bit of his backstory. Are we taking the spiritual pressure from Hollows? Because that seems suspicious. It seems less like a Zanpakuto than maybe it should. Okay, that was a little teary-eyed in that one. Because Toshiro. But it fits with like what I was saying of him being the kind of person who's very loyal to the people around him. Like, for him, having people that matter to him and being able to protect them is a big motivation for why he's training to be as strong as he is and like why he makes a good captain even though he's very young. So having it all go back to like wanting control of that power so that he doesn't harm people around him, trying to figure out how to fit in with this world that's a little bit scared of him, and having like the big motivation of his Zapakto be that he was trying to find like his home and his master and like that place that he belonged in. Um, it's just like tiny, tiny Toshiro crying that I was like, oh no, it's probably fine. I am curious about Muramasa though. He's becoming more and more suspicious as the episodes go on. Are we gonna get some more Byakuya maybe in the next one? This song gets stuck in my head for hours after I do these reactions, not gonna lie. Look at my boys being good and protective. He's like, Soul Reapers are my enemy, that's why. That one got me way more in my feelings than I thought it would. I was like, man, the stuff with Momo that we had before, that got me in my heart. But then we had all the stuff with Toshiro. I'm like, why are all the interactions between the Soul Reapers and their Zanpakuto like so emotional? With the exception of Ikagu's. It was just ridiculous, but I would expect nothing less from him. But getting the stuff with like Momo where she was talking about how she wanted to grow old because it would mean that her heart had depth and she could kind of see things in a different way and not act on emotion, and that kind of a thing is like a little bit existential for me. But also I think that it says a lot about where she's at and how she's growing, because she had Aizen for a long time as someone who could take care of her and care about her, and she didn't feel like she needed to become her own person independent of him and the other people around her, whereas now she has to. She's been forced to, and that's basically what it means to be an adult and grow up, is that you have to not be reliant on the people that have been taking care of you this whole time. So to see her talking about that, and I think it's really important because one of the things about growing up is that, and again I say this as someone who was in their early 20s, so take it with a grain of salt, but part of growing up is that you get to look back on the things that seemed devastating and seemed like these earth-shattering moments, and you have so much more perspective on them now that they don't have the same weight. Now that doesn't mean that things don't happen that like stick with you and change you and shape you into the person that you are, but they aren't as devastating in retrospect as they were when you were living through them, and you can really only experience that once you've gotten older, like once you aren't in it anymore, right? Because situations seem so stressful. If we take something that's a little bit less deep than like being betrayed by someone that you care very deeply about, in the case of Momo, you could take something like when you were in school and you had to take exams. When you're in exams, it is the most stressful thing and it consumes your whole life because you are so worried about it. And now I have not done exams for a number of years. I can't go back to that point. I just know that I was stressed and it was all consuming. And now that I'm older, I don't know why it was such a big deal. Like, it wasn't. It's not that big of a deal, but it seems that way when you're in the middle of it. So I like seeing her having that perspective of her knowing that she's going to get better. Like, I feel like she's not quite there yet. She hasn't gotten past her feelings and the fact that she's hurt, and she's still working on being her own person and getting past what happened with Aizen. And you know, the other people that ended up leaving Soul Society too, and everything that happened as like a domino effect of Aizen's actions. She's not past it, but she knows that she'll get there, right? Like, she knows she'll get to a place where she's better off. So that part kind of got me in a deeper, more existential mood anyway. And then getting some of the more emotional heaviness with Toshiro, with his grandmother, and figuring out that he had the strong spiritual pressure and needing to control it so that he could make sure that he wasn't hurting anyone and that he wasn't this outcast, and made him into this person who wanted to protect because he could, and he sees his home as something to protect. And for him, it's not just specific people, it's not just a specific one location. For him, it's Soul Society, right? It is all of it. It is his home, and he's very, very protective of it. And you can see that in a lot of the other stories where it's in danger, how he reacts to that and how he feels a lot of responsibility for protecting it. So I like that was one of those things where it was him reconnecting with why it's important and why he protects people and why he wants to be a captain and a Soul Reaper and all of those kinds of things, was what reconnected him with his Zanpakuto. And I do feel like it might have been that his Zanpakuto was different and forgot his memories, because there was no way that his Zanpakuto would have like gone off and left him if he remembered who Toshiro was. I feel like there's an immense amount of loyalty and sense of duty in Toshiro that would have been fused with his Zanpakuto. But we've got some suspicious things going on with Muramasa, and like, I think he's taking spiritual pressure from hollows, which seems worrisome. So we'll maybe get back into some of that. I like that we're getting a little glimpse of what he's doing as we're veering off into other things where he's not really the focus or the main antagonist of the episodes. I like that we're still getting like a little bit of a through line of what he's doing in the background, instead of him kind of disappearing and then like maybe getting a flashback later when he's actually come back at like full force. But it looks like we might get some more Byakuya in the next episode, so excited for that, even though I feel like it's gonna get more and more emotional as the Soul Reapers reconnect with their Zanpakutos. But you can click this playlist to go see my previous reactions, or you can subscribe so you miss next time I post a Bleach reaction, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!